All right, we just listened to the new Spiritbox EP, The Fear of Fear. So now we're going to talk about it a little bit. I'll give you my thoughts, track highlights. We'll go to a deeper discussion with my co-host Jordan over here, and come back around and give you our ratings for our on-the-spot first listen album review. So I've been a fan of Spiritbox for a while now. I guess they're still kind of fairly new. I think I had heard the Mara effect back in the day, but I didn't pay too much attention by mistake. And then once Blessed Be came out, it caught my attention a whole lot. I fucking love that song, and I've fallen in love with them since. I think they're incredible band. And so here we are with their new EP, and I think I gave them. I don't know if I gave them out. I didn't give them album of the year. I think I gave them like number 2 for 2020. Was it 2021? I think was that year. I don't remember. Whenever Eternal Blue came out, that shit was peak. Amazing music. And so here we are. And I think this is pretty much, it's close to it. It's close to Eternal Blue levels. I think sonically, it's identical. I don't think this band has really changed that much. I don't understand a lot of the hate that they get. Other than, I understand why some people hate on them because they're hating because there's a woman in the band, but they won't admit it. But anyways, that's a whole nother video. I think they've been actually very consistent. I think Eternal Blue had all of the same elements. They mix all of the pop elements, and if you go listen to Eternal Blue, every single song on that album has a heavy part in it, to kind of balance out those pop moments. And there's straight up, like I said, Billie Eilish style pop moments in that album. And so it's weird seeing people say, they changed or whatever, because it's literally not. This is literally, a lot of these songs feel like sequels to Eternal Blue. And with that said, this is a weird negative that probably no one else will ever have. I wish they would have made this a full length. I wish they would have maybe taken their last EP and rolled it into this. Maybe it might not have worked. I don't know. I just wanted more time with this. It should have been longer. It is a long EP, so yeah, yay for long EPs. But if they would have kept up this energy for another few songs, I probably could have, put this up there with Eternal Blue as like 10 out of 10 and possibly album of the year material. I don't think it's exactly there. It's damn close. I don't know if I'll give this a 10 out of 10, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I thought all of this was, like I said, it was great. Again, felt like a sequel to Eternal Blue. That's why I wish it was longer. I think they've perfected that formula. We were just talking about it a minute ago. I think they've perfected the formula of the pop elements and the heavy elements, and adding like Jordan said, depth to it to make it really kind of work and flourish and play off of each other, as opposed to other bands like Devil Wears Prada, Bad Omens, Dayseeker, all those bands that everyone loves. I think they just don't have, they don't do it right. I think Spiritbox has set the tone and everyone tries to sound like it and it just doesn't work, especially Devil Wears Prada. I think Devil Wears Prada is the biggest ripoff of Eternal Blue, in my opinion. Again, that's another video. I thought this was pretty great. I think Too Close, Too Late was probably the weakest of the album. If I had to pick one, there wasn't really a standout moment in it, although it is like right in the middle of the album, and it is backed by another one of the heaviest songs on the album. So it has this nice like little dichotomy between that. So I won't, give it too much of a negative for that. So I think that's fine. And I think I'd have to listen to this some more to really dive into it. But I think this was great. I like that it starts off heavy. Cellar Door is just like, it's in kind of an ass beater straight off the rip, which I think, what was the first song on Eternal Blue was, I can't remember, but that was a heavy one too. So, and I think this actually sounds even more like actual Spiritbox than their last EP did. The last EP was a little bit more experimental, had a lot more 90s feel to it, a lot more nu metal, industrial kind of vibes to a lot of it. And so this one kind of feels more, like I said, Eternal Blue. It feels more like straight up Spiritbox. So, yeah, I keep saying it, but That's how I feel about it. I really like there's pretty much I noticed it in the first song, Cellar Door. There's like this clean, reverby, chorusy guitar in the back. It's the trope of progressive music, progressive metalcore, very tesseracty. That little couple of notes in the background, that dee dee dee. I noticed it in that song, but they actually kind of do it in almost all of the songs on here. So I thought that was a nice little. It kind of like keeps the same kind of vibe for throughout the whole thing. You have to really kind of listen for it, but it's there, and I really appreciated it. Kind of spacey, tesseracty kind of feel. So I like that. I think my favorite track on here is actually the ending track. I think the ending track was probably my favorite. It has this really catchy chorus, but they slow it down, like it's slower than the verses, and it gives it this kind of really epic kind of feel. I think that one really stood out. I think the rest of it is all great. It's very, it's very Spiritbox. It has very catchy choruses, heavy guitars, heavy moments, without pushing it too hard. I don't think it does. I just wish it was longer. I'm gonna be honest. I think in such a way that I want to maybe take away a point, because I just wish like I think there wasn't enough. I wish they would have slammed the last EP in here and made it literally an Eternal Blue Part 2, and I would have I think this and for some reason, even though Ultraviolet was my favorite song, I wanted I keep talking about Eternal Blue. I'm sorry, but the title track Eternal Blue had that solo, that really beautiful solo in there. I think if they would have slammed a solo into Ultraviolet at the end, it would have. I would have, probably. I probably shouldn't say that. I would have enjoyed it a whole lot, and I would have felt really good. So I wish that would have happened. It didn't, but still, I think it's great. And I love Spiritbox and appreciate them. And so yeah, Jordan, what do you think of this?
I thought this was really good. Kind of like you, I don't think I'm gonna give it a 9 or a 10 out of 10, but um, I definitely see a lot of like the kind of work that they've done to kind of like separate their songs out a little bit and have them kind of seem more singular on their own. And I feel like maybe that's why this was more of an EP. I don't think a lot of these songs, other than the first two songs, they didn't really like flow together or really have too much of like a connecting thread, musically. But I think one of our viewers said this might be like a concept EP, which I could see happening because in the video for the first song, there's like a red key, and then in the last song in Ultraviolet, she in one of the lyrics she like brings up, she says something about a red key, and I don't remember hearing her say it like lyrically, like in the music, in the first song, but kind of having like that connective tissue was pretty much like the only two connecting things. So I definitely can see why this was more of an EP and maybe not like a whole album, just because some of the songs kind of flow together and not all of them. Not especially not like Eternal Blue, where there's very clear like transitions between a lot of the songs, um and a lot of those songs didn't really have like, I don't think that one was a the concept album too, but could be wrong on that. I don't really remember anything like too connective, so I can definitely see like maybe the distinction between this and like a full album. Maybe this, just because a lot of these songs are kind of like their own like identity, especially because Cellar Door, is like super heavy, and then Jaded was a little bit more on like the catchy kind of like poppy side, and then you had like a full on like poppy kind of like softer song on Too Close Too Late, and then you have Angel Eyes, which is another really heavy one, and then Void has kind of like its own kind of like I don't kind of trance kind to it. That's what I kind of got from it, being like more kind of like upbeat and kind of like a little bit brighter sounding. And then Ultraviolet was kind of more like a kind of like a ballady kind of like epic song, kind of like Constance, uh, while not being as powerful as that song. uh, in video, but you know, all these songs definitely have their own kind of vibe, which I can definitely see why this is an EP. You know, a lot of these songs kind of just stand out on their own. Although there is a little bit of connective tissue between like the first two songs, uh, but it was really just in the transition in between the songs. So um, I definitely can get down with this. I don't think having the last EP combined with this would have really worked. Just because a lot of those songs are even more kind of different and more kind of experimental on their own. So I feel like if they would have combined these two, it would have felt, you know, maybe too disconjointed and didn't have enough, you know, kind of connective tissue between a lot of the songs. So um, I can definitely see why they kind of separated them out. And you know, hopefully, I don't know, maybe the on the next album they'll like throw in some of those songs from the last EP or something in there, or maybe have, you know, we hate it, but you know they could do the route where they have this EP and then another EP, and then they combine those like next year for like a full length album.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I really hope they don't do that kind of thing. Especially with the last EP, is just because it is kind of so different, and these songs are so different from each other. So it would have just it would have been, even though you know it is Spiritbox and Spiritbox sounds like Spiritbox. I feel like having too many like differing and kind of like contrasting like genre kind of influences and stuff would be kind of like too much of like a all over the place. So, but you know what is here is really really good. I think I like the last EP just a little bit more. Um, Hysteria was like a really catchy song. And then I can't remember what the other one was called, but that one was also pretty catchy as well. And some of these aren't other than Jaded. Jaded was really, and I guess Ultraviolet. Those were the really the only ones that kind of gotten stuck in my head. Um, but there's definitely a lot of other Spirit Box songs that have definitely done it better for me and definitely get stuck in my head, especially Eternal Blue. Like after that album, hearing the song Eternal Blue, like I just kept going and listening to pretty much just that song over and over and over, just because it got stuck in my head so much, and because of the solo, you know, uh, the solo really helped bring that song out, especially in that album. Even though you know the rest of that album is really good, that song really stood out because of that solo. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this EP could have used that maybe here or there,
Yeah, it had the
like
same kind
you
of
said.
atmosphere too. Ultraviolet did. Like it had that the same kind of vibe to it, and that's kind of like why I felt like I was expecting it, and it just never came. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah, and I think it was either Jaded or Angel Eyes. At the beginning of one of those songs, there was also like a clean guitar part, like in the background that you were kind of talking about. But I can't I might be wrong, but it sounded like the one at the beginning of Eternal Blue, the song. So maybe that could have been like a little you know, callback. I'll have to go back and listen to it, but I did think that was kind of like a nice touch there. You know, just to kind of call back to the old stuff. Um, I also really like the guitar tone on this album. This album or this EP, the guitar tone was like it was really nice and thick, and even whenever they like pitch it down to like the like super low tuning, you can really still hear everything, and you can also really feel it. And I guess that also goes along with the bass. The bass tone was really nice. Also, the drum tone was really good. The cymbals were really nice and close. There was a part I think in Angel Eyes where there was a breakdown where the drummer played like a China cymbal and like during the breakdown and it kind of like filled the space and I could hear it like right there. It felt like the cymbals like right next to my right ear, and so I really like that and I appreciate that. Just because you know there are a lot of layers with Spirit Box's music, but they seem to still have the perfect mixing and balance between all the instruments to where you can still hear everything and everything is uh nicely separated out. Also, I feel like a lot of the time, um, bass and the guitars don't really play the same thing, and so there's like another kind of like level of contrast and uh, differing tones and like notes in between the guitars and the bass. So it kind of gives it more of like a progressive tone, and you know, a lot of the times in metalcore especially the bass and the guitars pretty much just double each other, and they don't really like stray too far from that other than like solos and leads and stuff like that. So I definitely like that aspect of this music too. Overall I think I could have used maybe like one or two songs, two more songs on top of this, but I guess that's just a testament to how good Spiritbox's music is. They definitely have a lot more depth than a lot of other bands. I feel like the most comparable band right now would be like Sleep Token, just because they have a lot of depth in their music, like what Michael was saying earlier with like Bad Omens and Devil Wears Prada and stuff. Like with that kind of songwriting, how like it's very chorus heavy and it's very reliant on those choruses and very reliant on like very clear vocal hooks and like vocal lines, that TikTok people can, be like, "Oh, I know that line," and they can pretty much hear it, and that's probably the only part of the song that they'll know. But a lot of like this and Sleep Token has a lot of depth to where like on the surface level, there's a lot of those pop elements, and it's very kind of like easy to listen to and easy to follow just because of the structure. But underneath, like the guitars and the bass and the drums and like even just like the time signatures that they're playing in really keep that from being too generic, and it gives you something to look for. And if you're not a huge like prog nerd or anything, you can still listen to this and hear everything on the surface level and be able to follow it, like unlike a lot of prog where it's very obtuse and kind of hard to follow. But this is still, it has enough of the pop elements, to kind of keep it on the surface. But then whenever you listen real close to it, like you can notice that a lot of the guitars aren't really playing like straight riffs, and they're really not playing like the stuff that you would normally hear. So there's definitely a lot of detail, in those instruments and stuff, and it keeps it from being just very surface level like Devil Wears Prada and stuff. With those songs and stuff and bands like that, like you hear the chorus like right away at the beginning of the song, and that's base and then the songs basically feel like they're just trying to get to the chorus, and like they're trying to skip past all the other parts just so they can get to the catchy part that everyone's going to remember. And it ends up having not a lot of depth, and it just becomes very nebulous, and everything kind of sounds the same. Whereas this very much sounds like Spiritbox, and really no other bands sound like this. And even comparing them to Sleep Token, like Sleep Token and Spiritbox sound nothing alike, pretty much at all. So you know, that's one thing I had to say. Just you know,
All right, what would you rate this?
I'm gonna give it a 9. It's right there. I think I like the the last EP just a little bit more. Uh, those songs were a little bit more catchy and easier to follow, but I can still, you know, see the appeal in these songs, and they're still very very good.
Yeah, I'm right there too. 9 out of 10 for me. Like I said, it had some moments where it could have been a 10. Like if they would have put a solo at the end, I think just that might have gotten me over the edge. But overall, still, I think I just wish it had more length. If they would have made it a full length, add a couple more songs, like a 9 track, make it a 9 track album or something like that. It would have been, um, just to keep the energy kind of going. It kind of just like ends so abruptly for me. Um, so yeah, we'll give it a 9 out of 10. Still super high. That's like an A plus. 10 out of 10 is S plus. So A plus is still it's great. I don't think they missed at all. So great job to Spiritbox. Definitely looking forward to some more next time in full length though.